full with aspirations. It was he who had passed. Golf and other media Reuters, NBC Sports, and Monthly observed the competitive field for the competition. However, the name Miles Russell was always by itself, as the norm rather than as a candidate. Not whether he would perform was the question. However, who could reasonably stay up? His swing came naturally. He had an icy beat, chilly. His concentration was unwavering. To all of you, this was Miles on the tee box, Russell's domain. However, competitions are not acquired by reputation. Additionally, in a game where each hole has a tale to tell, occasionally, an unidentified name appears alongside a personal pen. You may be the favorite. The experience is yours to enjoy. Even the finest is possible for you. However, sometimes the most unexpected things don't come from them at the top. They originate from those who don't. One anticipated it. No cameras were in use. Him in the pre-tournament warm-ups interviews and little buzz from experts of golf. Charlie Woods joined the Taylor team, positioned invitational at 606 in the AJGA rankings. Nor an underdog, nor a headline, just another t-shirt name sheet. His registration hardly registered at all. Ripple, no noise, no expectations, and it's precisely how a surprise starts. He had performed at this level in silence. Before, but not on a stage. In 5, he placed in the top 25 at one AJA tournament. Not awful, but not the kind of outcomes that make people look. Each shot he fired encountered a pile of analogies, not to his other juniors, but to his final name. Because when Woods is your name, actually, you don't get to start from scratch. Charlie used his opening holes to the composure of a person with nothing to prove everything. No ostentatious gestures, calm, without any dramatic emotions action, one hole after another. While others heated in the limelight of as anticipated, Charlie came out of the shadow of quiet. There was no sign of his name, whoever's watch list, but each and every with each birdie, something new was added. Weight. Not the burden of celebrity, but the weight of attention. When he submitted a around 70 on the first day, some individuals looked up. On the day he posted a 65 too. Nobody averted their gaze. This wasn't good luck. The streak was not hot. It was rhythm, serenity, and a strategy that had been silently developing for a long time before the competition started. The legend's son had begun a few anticipated. He started writing a tale about the ink wasn't drying on his own slowly. However, hidden under the surface is where tales such as this originate. Each and every numbers are presented to start the competition day, however, impressions are the conclusion. On the second day of the team customized the invitations, Charlie Woods demonstrated his superiority over only the leaderboard's last name. The round of 65 wasn't an anomaly, it was the assertion. Precision off, 8 birdies the tee, the irons falling into position like clockwork. No flair, no spectacle, simply artistry. Furthermore, in a field full of them, Charlie abruptly began establishing the mood. What was notable wasn't it was his look, simply the score. Just concentrated, not nervous or excited. Others in his cohort accelerated or slowed down after errors. Charlie continued to a single beat. In response to poor bounces, after birdies, don't pump your fist. Despite the strain, he remained unflinching. He acted as like this wasn't his largest moment. It came naturally to him. Meanwhile, Miles Russell went on to perform well. No errors, no drama, just what you would expect from the first place. However, something had changed. There was more than merely Russell's consistency, no more. It concerned Charlie's ascent. One by one, the focus shifted. The media began changing the headlines. Coaches looked over the live scores more often. Participants in the clubhouse started to reconsider their Sunday combinations. Because when something unknown begins, no one questions why it's increasing. They inquire, when will it end? For the first time ever, everyone Charlie Woods' name didn't appear for a week. Like a footnote. It had the sound of a danger. It wasn't only his last name, however. People watched because of it. He owned it. Score, his composure, and his mastery. By the end, on day 2, the whispers became a watch. Lists. A tournament is won by certain rounds. Reputation is rewritten by others. Charlie 2 Woods achieved both with his final round score of 66. Almost 8 birdies, No double bogeys. A mistake. Everything appeared to fit together. Not due to magic, but rather to approach. Where others clenched under Sunday strain, Charlie discovered another equipment. He didn't become anxious throughout his game. It sharpened. Furthermore, in a field full of sounds, he abruptly found himself alone. Sound. The distinction wasn't limited to the statistics, yet they conveyed a lot. As the overwhelming favorite, Miles Russell completed with a solid 8 under. Charlie finished with a score of 15 under par. Not near, not fortunate, not convincing, a 3-shot advantage over what many referred to as the AJA season's strongest field. Reuters reports that it was a declaration. Triumph. Not a fluke or a flash, but a caution. Charlie's delivery that day wasn't a round of miracles. Control was the issue. Each shot seemed to be practiced. Not dangerous heroic shoots, no hesitant rescues, simply cool, tidy performance. Charlie engaged in play. Golf Digest stated, like a veteran. And perhaps it was the most unexpected aspect. How he won, not that he won. He didn't perform like someone demonstrating something. He performed like someone verifying it. When the last putt fell and the official score was announced, the reason the class didn't become quiet was disappointment. It became silent due to insight. This was more than a child. Performing well, a player was on the way, with purpose. Suddenly, the shadowed player entered the spotlight. Although the score was final, the true effect had just begun. Inside Charlie Woods' hours of locking in his triumph at the tailor-made team invitational, the golf industry started to buzz. New York Sports Illustrated, Golf Digest, and Post weren't writing no longer about Tiger's kid. They were composing a piece about Charlie the rival, the threat, the breakout. The voice had changed practically immediately. He wasn't a name that has expectations. He was a name to base your strategy around. On social media, coaches started posting snippets of his use of phrases like calm, maturity, and accuracy rather than potential, not guarantee. Typically, words used for upcoming tour professionals or collegiate talents. Golf Monthly claims that a number of NCAA programs directly inquired as to whether they didn't notice him. Charlie's reputation was not increasing. It had blew up. Supporters did the same. The talk swiftly shifted from cool to, how far can we see him out there? The child really leaves. The footage of his the broken down frame of the round was shared by Frame. Without equating him with his father, but to comprehend how he had accomplished it, the confidence, the serenity, the pace. This son wasn't using borrowed funds. Splendor. This young gamer was coercing his own path into the public eye merit. And the discussion continued. On the 18th green. What was previously shown because legacy was now seen as a danger. Charlie had done more than simply play well. He had began something, a personal narrative, one that everyone was instantly observing. He was more than simply the surprise of the weekend. He having gained recognition, athletes would begin getting ready. This was no longer hype. It was taking place. Some victories remain in that they occur during the weekend. This one didn't. A few days after his triumph at the Team Invitational, customized by Charlie Woods took a jump that nobody anticipated. As stated according to Reuters, he rose from 606 to in the AJGA standings at number 14. One victory, one performance, as well as the whole environment of junior golf was reorganized. Not just because to his actions, but also because of its meaning. With his new position, Charlie was granted automatic admission to the TPC Junior Players Championship. SARAS is a trial site where junior future professionals meet elites. The same where his father used to make fairways, he now has to traverse history. However, it's not about shadows this time or heritage. This has nothing to do with his father. It has to do with what he has just begun. A name that was originally included in a footnote on the bag tag is now by itself on the leaderboard. Initially, detractors referred to it as a flash. One hot streak, one weekend. However, the data presented a different picture. 3 rounds below par, a serene, controlled completion. Not a second that seemed fortunate. It wasn't magic in golf. This was methodical, technical, and intentional. And it's not a big deal if you can accomplish it at 15. Peak. It serves as a base. What started off as more proof of Miles Russell's domination came to an end with something far larger. There isn't a king anymore in golf for juniors. There is no closed hierarchy. The power dynamics have changed. Additionally, at a name no is at the top of that new order. Ignorance is okay. Additionally, exactly like thus, the inquiry shifted from whether can someone stop him from hanging? Thus far, that single sentence wasn't only a commitment, it was a peace and a confession. Offering a son attempting to succeed the commotion and go to his dad. That Charlie wasn't the only one speaking. It was years of feeling are now paying off. Voice. It wasn't only a victory. It was in the act of emotional reconciliation took place on national television. According to reports, Tiger had to go out of the press area after hearing what Charlie has to say. One witness said that he just turned, nodded, and moved discreetly to gather around the clubhouse himself. No smiles, no interviews, just pure, unadulterated emotion. It was a side the world hardly ever sees Tiger. Not only that, but it wasn't about his swing. It has to do with his heart. For the guy who has exceeded life's expectations, he's never been more human than this. Looked. Additionally, it sent shockwaves throughout the whole golfing community. Commentators stopped. Supporters sobbed. Competitors bravo. Charlie's statement wasn't only a headline. It was a time of the truth, since sometimes the heaviest swings originate from words you've never seen. Approaching. In the back of each swing is a shadow. Tiger shadow. Regardless of whether you're on a PGA ranking or slapping a junior invitational, the appearance of Tiger Woods looms huge. It's not just family either. In a recent twist at the US Open, JJ Spaun publicly acknowledged Tiger for providing him with the mental toughness to pull off a comeback triumph. While there was a mid-round rain delay, Spaun relied on Tiger's strategic counsel. Had already given him, easy but strong, and it was effective. If Tiger's tour professionals are being lifted by words to championships, just think about what they're doing in private with Charlie. The world of golf isn't just observing the legacy of Tiger. It's being formed in real time by it. However, this is the turn. Tiger's impact extends beyond instructive. It has a spiritual component. He is a living myth that represents perfection under duress. Furthermore, that weight isn't light, particularly for a shared his surname. Charlie doesn't just take a lesson from Tiger, he resides in the orbit of one of the sports with the greatest analysis occupations in the field of history. Charlie, every step yardage isn't the only way to quantify takes. It is evaluated in relation to others. Each round turns becomes a vote on whether the son can compete with the legend. That kind of gravity either forges or crushes you. Tiger's insight is reverberating across the game. However, Charlie is the only one who lives there. The echo chamber. For Spaun, it's motivation. For Charlie, it's anticipation. Additionally, Tiger, for all his genius, is aware of it. That's why he isn't pressuring Charlie into every fame or making him pursue the media excitement. His youngster is learning from him not just how to prevail, but how to deal with the mess that comes with grandeur. However, living up to it's not difficult to get to the name Woods. It's a gauntlet. Additionally, each young prodigy understands that pursuing a goal is simpler than to get one via inheritance. However, in this round, Charlie demonstrated that he is not trapped in the shadow. One of his own is being cast. The Tiger's domination may still be felt today. The fairways ring, but now a whole new sound is emerging. Charlie swings. Furthermore, it's not just it's the sound of talent, the sound of autonomy. The internet took off, but the true tale was lost on them. Only days after Charlie's tearful post-win moment with Tiger, the world's best golfer, the US Open, came into focus. And not due to the person in charge of the leaderboard. An unexpected weather delay play was stopped, and broadcasters were left. Rushing to get airtime, that's when it took place. Tiger waiting out in clips, storms from his heyday reappeared across social media. Next came the jokes. There is usually drama with Tiger storms. Both the father and the son make it rain. However, what began as a humorous the meaning of banter quickly become more profound. Because there was something hidden underneath the memes. No one could overlook it. Charlie had just produced his own storm. The fans weren't only giggling, They were getting along. Dots. The similarities between Tiger's previous unchallenged power and Charlie's abrupt emotional upswing were too powerful to disregard. However, rather than overwhelming his competing with an incredible desire, Charlie struck the audience with something far more uncommon. Blatant vulnerability of the people. That instance of Tiger sobbing, of Charlie's commitment, his victory in their intricate romance turned into a hurricane. Internet that was impossible to ignore. This was no longer about the leaderboard. This concerned the reshaping of a lineage. At the moment. What the public saw as a weeping dad, they ought to have seen as passing a torch. The Tiger video. The silence in his eyes as he wiped them look. The embrace he offered Charlie. It wasn't staged after that. It wasn't for the cameras. It was a dad, realizing that his son had just entered anything greater than triumph. And even if they didn't express it, spectators sensed it. Say it aloud. It takes a storm sometimes to make the view apparent. And what we observed next was blatantly obvious. Since Tiger exclaimed, "The world at last comprehended Charlie Woods represents the future." The future has arrived. That video could get widely shared. Next year's, but it won't be the tear that sticks. It will be the burden of what that meant. The next exciting chapter in there was no indication of golf. It was only written before us. No one anticipated Charlie Woods to act in that way green, not even Tiger. The stakes weren't the PGA Tour or World Championships millions. It has to do with the playoffs. Proceed just a few years ago. Woods, Charlie first captivated the golf community's focus, not brandishing a club, but at the PNC, standing behind his father championship. Swinging in the same outfit, walking in the same manner. A virus feeling prior to even teeing it up under actual pressure. The press didn't. They contacted him and named him Charlie, the son of Tiger. That wasn't anything he earned. Spotlight. It was inherited by him. Additionally, with each nod, each look, each high five, the bar was silently separated from his father. Elevated. This went beyond just being an excellent junior golfer. This has to do with pursuing a myth. In pursuit of a myth, he turned into the enigma. Was there a chance actual or only the result of genetics? Quick, let's fast forward until June 2025. Location: 108th Florida Amateur Championship. The PGA audience was tiny. Criteria, but the existence on the sidelines were enormous. In a golf course, Tiger sat in the trolley underneath Florida's sun. Woods, a guy who has achieved every success yet witnessed something that he was unable to command. His kid managing the strain on his own terms. Charlie wasn't being mentored. They weren't micromanaging him. Tiger was not giving advice on how to swing. He was observing. Not giving advice on how to swing. He was observing.